So I'm calling the meeting to order at 8:32. Roll call, please, or certification of open meeting requirements have been met. The agenda has been posted. The amended agenda was also posted, I hope?
Yep.
Okay. Roll call of committee members. Nutter here.
Yalazinski here.
Addie's here, I see him. Is that
Yep.
5 of us? Okay. All right. I would like to move something up in the agenda, if it's okay with everyone, because Dave Carlson has another event he has to be at, and that would be number 9, accepting the grant for broadband planning discussion.
Thank you. So this is something we've discussed previously in PTED.
Do you want a motion for that or not?
No,
Yeah, let me just explain real quick. So what this is it's this long sort of Public Service Commission process on this thing, which started with the county stating its intent to apply for a grant, and then we applied for the grant, and now we've been awarded the grant, or offered a grant, I should say, because nothing's final until the county board approves it. What you had in your packet and what I handed out hard copies of to those who are here today is a resolution, and I can read it if we like, or we can just not. But basically what the resolution does is accept the grant from the State Public Service Commission, and then authorizes execution of the project or grant agreement with PSC, which would authorize me to do. And then it also creates a revenue line and an expense line in the budget.
Can you blow that up so the people on the screen can see it a little bit better?
Sure,
Because otherwise I
okay,
can't read
yep,
it.
okay, sorry. Yeah, so this, for those who are looking at the screen, I'm not going to go through this, but this is the actual grant agreement, which I will say Corp Counsel Rick Niemeyer looked at, and he's fine with it. Here we go. Yeah. So again, my intent with putting this up on the screen was just if there were any questions about it that people had. But this is the actual grant agreement, and that was also in your packet. So I guess, yeah, and then it authorizes me to sign on behalf of the county after the county board approves it. So if PTED approves this, next stop will be the county board, June 19th. This is the next meeting.
And if you'd like, I can read the last whereas, which talks about
Sure.
that this money, $18,337.40, be deposited in revenue account number 101.43703, bead revenue, and expense account 101.55356.999, bead expense, and allow Trempealeau County Economic Development and Tourism access to this money. So that just indicates what the total grant is, correct?
Yes.
Okay. If people want the whole resolution read,
Lori had a question.
I just have a quick question. Exactly then what are we going to do with the money?
Yeah, so this is a broadband internet and access planning grant. The primary activities of this, under this grant, will be to assess where we do and don't have broadband internet, look at some equity issues in terms of speed and cost of service in the various areas. And it will involve some consulting fees in all likelihood to do, to drill down and do some mapping, not literally drill down. And then also to do some public outreach and activities. And I think I mentioned this at County Board, I can't remember, I think I've mentioned this previously at PTED too. We've been in some good conversations with Pepin, Buffalo County, and now Pierce County about possibly collaborating on some of the stuff to leverage, how far that money will get us in terms of coming up with a good, solid plan.
I can't recall the woman's name right now from the state who's been, what is her name? Kay?
I don't remember, but we've had conversations
Right.
with her, we've had conversations with Mississippi River Regional Planning, as well as UW Extension. I think both of them will end up being partners in one form or another in these activities. We'll have, like, I think it's 2 years to do these activities, although the PSC is requiring us to have some sort of interim deliverables by June 19th. I don't think they understand the process that county government kind of
Right.
grinds slowly, and we just got the grant agreement like Thursday last week. And so it was just in time to get it on PTED and now to the county board, but yeah.
And I think it was maybe in our February, you and I met with her and Paul.
Yep.
And she gave us all the documents that she went over with us in that meeting, and I asked you to send them out to the committee, so everybody should have everything that she talked to us about, all, how the
Yep.
grants work, what they're looking at, the total amount. It's a huge amount of money that the state got. So if you look back in your emails, it might have been February. It was a while ago. It was winter when you and I met with her, so.
Yep. So the motion would be to approve to adopt the resolution approving and accepting the BEAD grant.
Okay. Is there a general feeling in the room that the whole resolution be read? No. Okay.
Technically,
Adi, are
isn't
you
it
okay?
supposed to be read?
Before the county board, it does.
Yeah, it'll be read before the county board. Gene, just for your information, he's just explaining in the resolution, the BEAD grant, what the planning findings will be incorporated into Wisconsin's 5-year state action plan, whereas the BEAD local planning grant in Trempealeau County, how much they were awarded, $18,337.40. Local project status report must be submitted to the commission, so we have 2 years, no later than, a year and a half, May 31st, well, it's almost 2 years. The grant sets forth the terms and the use of the funds under the BEAD program, and then I read the Trempealeau County Board of Supervisors hereby approves accepting the grant. So that, basically, I've read you the resolution. Any questions?
No, I'm just making
No,
a comment.
Okay, and for Jean and Adi, we'll put an X by your name since you're both present at this meeting, but via Zoom, if you are in support of this resolution. So I would entertain someone to make a motion to approve this resolution, which will accept the BEAD grant of $18,337.40.
I'll make that motion.
I will second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Wait, you had a comment, didn't you, Kevin?
Yeah, I did have a quick comment, like, just reiterating the fact that there was a concern about the whole thing will be, the county board, they'll read the whole thing, so.
Right, correct.
The whole thing will be verbatim.
Any further questions? All in favor of this resolution to accept this grant? Say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carried.
If it's okay with the committee, I'll give a quick oral report. I was going to do a written report, but I didn't get around to it, and I'm here. So, because I'm more mobile, I've gotten back to doing some business visits, which had kind of been put on the shelf previously. I'm kind of excited to report that it looks like on track to get a meeting with Ashley Furniture in the not-too-distant future here. Happened to meet Mr. Ron Wanik out at Broiler Dairy Days last week, and reached out to him, and we'll be putting together a meeting. So I think that will be very productive. I think there's a lot of issues, potentially talk about with them and their future, and different things. Had a meeting with Wisconsin Department of Transportation last week up at the Arcadia Overlook on Highway 93. That's an issue that's been bugging me for a while, as well as the town of Arcadia, because the trees there are blocking what's supposed to be the beautiful view that you would have from that overlook, and they have been, I think, for some time. It's just gotten really bad. And DOT is agreeable to trying to, do something with that. The trees in question are on private land, so we'll have to deal with that at some point. But they're also governed by a scenic easement, even though it's not in the DOT's right-of-way. The scenic easement extends to that area where the trees are. And so they're doing some research on the scenic easement, and can that be used to require that the trees be removed, is sort of the second part. First thing is, can the trees be removed? Or,
How many trees are we talking about?
oh, it's a fair number, and they're mainly, and it wouldn't be a case where they'd all have to be removed necessarily, even just taking down, some of the trees would open up that view, but there's pretty much a solid wall up there. So the town of Arcadia chair was in attendance at the meeting. It sounds like town of Arcadia is all on board. The interesting wrinkle DOT threw at us was that they may be looking in the future to get rid of that overlook as surplus property.
Really?
And I said, well, county and town may well be very interested in doing that, maybe just repave it and then turn it over to us, and we make it potentially a small part. I just, no commitments, just ideas. So anyways, that's just something to stay tuned on.
Which overlook is it again?
The Arcadia,
Arcadia Hill, top of Arcadia Hill on Highway 93.
on 93.
one
On the
that looks-
left as you're going up to, as you're leaving Arcadia.
Correct, on the right as you're coming in.
Right.
Get rid of it, I think it'd be, again, I can't speak to everybody, but the county under town probably would take it over instead of losing it.
I don't know who else would want it. It honestly is something that really only would make sense. But anyway, who knows? There's an intriguing proposal coming out of somebody in Minnesota, actually a TV reporter in Rochester, to have a new national park designated that would include parts of the driftless area in Minnesota and Wisconsin.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, I just first heard of this a couple weeks ago, and I did reach out to this guy. He's actually, I think, a meteorologist at one of the Rochester TV stations. But in his spare time, he's been doing a lot of research and outreach, and that's something potentially that I want to have a conversation with him about and just see, where that's at and stuff like that. But that would be really cool.
That would be amazing, because people have been trying to encroach on the driftless area for other things other than its beauty and specialness to this area.
And then we did submit some supplemental information on the grant that we did for the rec pond. So I would like to think that's an encouraging sign. They asked some follow-up questions, but we'll see.
Okay.
I think we probably will know by next month whether we get that grant or not. We did submit a revised cost estimate that was a little bit higher than original, because we got back some better information from somebody, so.
Cool.
That's all I've got.
Okay, it's 9:45. You can leave.
Thank you.
Dave, I got one comment.
Yeah.
With that scenic overlook, for years in the 70s, any publication that come out for the county, they always included
Yep.
that was like a highlight of the Arcadia area, that scenic overlook.
Yeah.
I've seen old publications and pictures, and that was there.
And I've talked with Mike, when they said, hey, we might want to get rid of this, I thought, perfect, I mean, that would, that could, like I said, be a small little park, and then we could actually do something with it, maybe put some interpretive signing out there,
Take
a
it over.
historical marker,
Yep.
something like that, so. I gotta go call a ball
Yes.
game.
Jeremy just told us they're gonna be doing some drilling here, so.
Yeah, we hear it.
Let us know if it gets too loud, if you guys can't.
Okay, no, I
gotta
think
fly.
it's fine.
Got a ball game to go do.
Hey,
Yeah.
cheer for the Levistrom
Go
Cardinals.
Cards.
Go Cards.
See you later. Thank you.
And as far as the scenic overlook, we had a gathering this past weekend, and numerous people drove out there purposely to just overlook the Arcadia Hills.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful
Should be
view,
one of the best selfie spots in the state.
especially in the
In
fall.
our own county, yeah.
All right, see you later.
But you can see. Okay. All right. So, I forgot something, and I'm going to backtrack. So please forgive me. I needed has everybody had a chance to read the minutes from a previous meeting?
Yep.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I will entertain that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'm sure Adi is agreeing.
I said
Adi?
aye.
Okay, great, thank you. We will now have a couple of minutes for public comment. The call-in number is 715-538-1894. So if anybody from the public or anybody at this table wishes to bring up something amazing, feel free.
Hi, this is Doreen Olson. Is it coming through?
Yep.
I just would like to commend Reed, the two Marks who work at the park, and anybody else who was involved in the park for this past weekend. Our family held a celebration of life for our mother, and Reed, 9, 8 campsites were rented out. Comments were, they were amazed with the campsites, amazed with the grounds. Our personal family wants to make a 5-year reunion, coming to Petrick Park and camping there. When we talked about the recreation, the possibility of a recreational pond, there was even more excitement of having a water feature there. We served, at last count, 390 people at the celebration of life, and the comments of the amenities, the shelter, the beauty of the park was amazing. So, accommodation to you, Reed, and everybody else in land management, and for the committee to keep that park going. Thank you.
Thanks. The park is beautiful.
I got one question for you, Doreen. That was probably the largest event that has happened there since the kitchen had got revitalized. What did Roger think of that? Was it okay, or are there any improvements that we need to do there? You know, so we get some of these bigger gatherings.
He brought, so we hired a caterer from Pine Creek area, and they bring their own chafing dishes. So the only problem they had, my brother put up a fan, of course, that blew out the flames. So he didn't have any really comments. He rather liked how the setup was because they were able to go from both sides. And then the tables our family donated, we put those on the sides to have the dessert. So the layout was quite spacious to move that many people through. The one thing that we didn't realize, the way we set up the pictures and the book, is that people came through the small door instead of coming around through the large overhead door. We never thought of that, and neither did Roger. So, but he didn't have any other comments. The refrigerators were used. He did not need to use, he did have to use the stove because we were running out of bologna, so he had to use it to cook the bologna. So outside of that, he just brought everything in large, hot carts.
Good.
The small table we moved towards the sinks, so that could be used for clean dishes and overflow and stuff like that. That he liked as well.
Basically, just a shortage of counter space.
A shortage counter space, yeah.
That seems to be everybody's problem in almost every kitchen, including my own.
While we're still waiting for public comments, I'd just like to take this moment to introduce our new fiscal manager. Right here to the right of Jeannie, Amy Bergeson. She just started yesterday, so we're putting her right in here.
She's a familiar face from the city of Arcadia, so she's familiar to me.
Yeah.
How can you write that small?
Welcome aboard on the county side.
Yeah,
So-
welcome.
We're very happy to have her, and so we've got a whole training schedule for the next 2 weeks, and so we're putting her right in there, and so looking
Cool.
forward to having her on board.
Welcome.
Talking about fiscal, as part of the celebration of life, we did designate Petrick Park as where some of the memorials will go. So I will probably be working with Reed as well as with you in regards to how those donations should be filtered through, or if they should go through the fundraising, which I think is on the agenda later on. So that's something to be discussed about for future references if there's more celebrations like that out there.
Are there any other comments? If not, I will close the public comment section. And number 7 is appointment of citizen member to PTED Committee discussion. I believe Mike is handling this.
Yeah, we have Gene Galzinski has volunteered to continue as the citizen member. So if you want to forward on the committee recommendation onto the county board chair, you can forward her name.
Okay, I'd make a motion to forward Jean Galazinski's name to the county board as a continuing citizen member on the PTED committee.
I would second that.
All in favor? All in favor? Aye.
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 Oppose? Okay, congratulations, Jean.
Thank you.
You're back on. Okay, we've done 8 and 9, so we're gonna skip down to Mr. Reed-Lally, number 10, Parks and Conservation Specialist update.
Yeah,
Is that
good-
you?
That's me. Good morning, everyone.
Congratulations again. The park is just so awesome.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, it's fun to maintain, and it's fun working with the Marks, and they do just a phenomenal job out there. So, hopefully we can have more events like that in the future. That was great. I mean, the updates I was getting from them, out there, and everybody was happy. I'm glad it went well.
I think too, we should advertise more our prairie restoration area, because there's a
Sure.
lot of people that are interested in that, and maybe even do I'll bring this up later, but a workshop on how to do prairie restoration.
Oh, good. I'd love to lead that. Feel free to contact me anytime.
I will.
For sure. Speaking of that, we actually, as part of my update here, we just were able to install 6 new signs out at the park, informational signs. 2 of them are at the prairie there. These, I worked closely with Doreen on some of the information on these signs, and they look really nice. So if somebody ever wants to go out there and take a look, and there's 3 new ones in the trail system, one by one of the trees that was donated to the park from, was it the class of 2005? Is that what it was? And then there's 2 by the prairie. So they look really nice. We went through the same company as before, as the big kiosk we have there in front, and they look very professional, and it's a good image for the park. Staying with the park, the camera installation for the one that's going on the bathroom house is going to go in tomorrow. We're trying a different company than what we went through before. This will be one where we can have an app on our computers and phones, and the sheriff's department has access to this. IT will have access to this, so it's a much better setup now than what we had before. We're going to stick with the cameras we had before, and we're going to see how this one works, and then potentially improve and upgrade from there. So that's the update on the camera situation. And also, while we're there, now that we've gone to the camp spot route, which is the online reservation system, we are going to be making the Wi-Fi at the park more accessible to the public. So you can access it right near the bathroom house there, but we're going to move it over to the class shelter as well, so that people have access there. So that'll be kind of in the same as the cameras being installed. We'll get that going as well. Let's see. Moving on to we're going to put in some new blacktop running from the main gravel road that's heading down to the lower area, right to the class shelter sidewalk. This will, make us more ADA compliant and definitely allow for better access for wheelchairs. I'm getting 3 estimates on it. I have one right now that's coming from a private company. I'm waiting on another one from another private company. I'm going to be contacting Highway Department today. So I'm hoping for the July meeting to be able to bring you an estimate to approve for that improvement. That this will include taking out the current driveway that's there and then repaving it and making it a little bit wider as it gets closer to the building. The heater update for inside the class, this has been a little bit frustrating. I've multiple times reached out and left voicemails and calls to the company that the PTED committee approved last fall. Very little response back.
Is this from Ben?
Yes. Very little response back. So then when I called and asked if he was actually going to do it, we might be moving to somebody else. They said they'd be there in a couple weeks, and that's around now, so I'm going to be in touch with, I actually called and left a message yesterday.
Okay.
But if we don't hear any response, I'm thinking of moving on, because this has to get in.
Right.
So I'll start looking for other quotes. So I understand they're probably busy, but I'd hate for us to all of a sudden get to the fall.
And not have it.
And we don't have it, and, it's
Okay.
June right now, so.
I don't think you need board approval to go to a different,
Probably not.
because we've already approved this to be done.
You've approved the financial amount, so I think
Right.
we're good there.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it was like October of last
It
year.
was October
right?
of last year, and it's just been,
And it's
you know,
June.
yeah, so. Something that we need to have out there, even our meeting there in May, it was kind of chilly that day, if I remember right,
It was really windy.
It was windy.
It
If-
wasn't really cold, but it was so windy.
Right, if people had actually, I did have somebody ask where the heat was in the shelter for one of those early shelter rentals, so I really want to see this go in before
Okay.
late fall this year, so. And then, at that meeting that we had, I was asked to look into the horse arena situation out there at the park, and, the county does control that. There was some I shouldn't say miscommunication, but I was made aware when I took the position that we didn't manage that building. And so I found out that we actually do own it, and so we have replaced I shouldn't say replaced, they're not in yet. We are replacing the doorknobs, and now we have keys and everything, so we have sole access, and I've been working with some of the horse folks that have been involved in the past, and they would like to maybe get something set up to have record of who's using it and when and how. And they're all for having a fee for using because apparently at other arenas in the area, I guess you do pay a fee before using them.
Yep.
We do have a horse donation set up there at the park right now, but, they're becoming more proactive on it, and they'd like to work with the Elk Rod and Gun Club and get that trail going again and whatnot, so it's kind of exciting to, have some activity going on there at the horse arena and the horse
That's good.
folks there at the park, so. And I have seen more people using it, so that's awesome. But as far as the park goes, that's kind of what I've been working on out there. The snowmobile side of things, our online system where the DNR sets up where the clubs can put their entries in for the work they're doing to get the reimbursement for the grant. That's kind of wrapping up here. June 30th is the deadline for those. The clubs have met the grant this year. And remember, our grant is however many miles we have in the county times 300. So I think this year it's around 370. Or I'm sorry, 370.
That'd be nice.
I was thinking about
$370,000.
yeah, I was thinking about miles. No, it was about 73,000 and some change. So the entries they have put in have exceeded that amount. So they're going to be getting all of that, and then we'll get the reimbursement from the state.
Okay.
And then I also will be putting out a bridge bid this week for the new snowmobile bridge up off of Whit Hill Road, just north of town here, which we applied for last year and we got the grant. So that's where we're at with snowmobile. The meetings are done for the summer now. They'll pick back up in September.
Okay.
So, does anybody have any questions about anything else or any of these topics? Yes, Bob?
Since our meeting was out at the park last month, what was the overlook on that lower class shelter? If we're gonna go ahead with the remodeling, or it's gonna get thrown on a back burner for another year, or what's the scoop there?
Well, it was kind of, the committee, I guess the committee never really made much of a decision on that. I think we were gonna proceed with see where the grant comes in for the rec pond, and then see what the cost estimate's gonna be on that and the bids for that, and then we'll see what we have left in the hopper. That was my understanding from the last meeting.
That's kind of what I remember too. We kind of unofficially kind of went that route right now when I looked it over.
We can put it on the agenda if we need, for next month, if we need further discussion about how to deal. I think there's differing opinions on what should happen with that building, so we could have a conversation about it next month.
Okay, I'm just jotting down notes here to put that on the next agenda.
And I'm going to put this on for a future agenda item, but I know there was a public hearing in Madison, and Kirsty's sister spoke to a potential bill to help the state deal with wild parsnip.
Oh, really?
And I'm going to try to get more information, and maybe this committee could submit a resolution to encourage the state to look at that. I would also like to add buckthorn, because I don't know what happened this winter, but buckthorn is taking over forested areas. In the state, we need to do something, or that's going to be the only tree in the state. I mean, it's unbelievable
Yeah, it's definitely has invasive qualities, that's for sure. It's kind of
I know.
like Reed
So,
Canary and wetland
but I'll
areas.
get some more information on what, because the state is really looking at doing something statewide for wild parsnip, because it's all, it's
Sure.
everywhere now. Any other questions for Reed? Okay. This one I'm going to throw to Mike. Proposed activity and outreach coordinator position, discussion, possible action.
Thank you. I was asked to put together a proposal for a activity and outreach coordinator position. And our process is to use this project initiation form. So I attached some text, sample job description, as well as a organizational chart for the department. But the purpose of this position is really intended to primarily provide programming at the park, to coordinate programming for youth in the areas of natural resources, education, conservation, outdoor adventure, nature-based recreation, and also coordinate events at the park that would help improve people, local and visitors, to attend the park and hopefully get repeat customers at the park. An example would be kind of at the celebration 50th anniversary last year, one idea came up, we kept hearing about the 6th grade camp out and how that's really kind of been going on for years, and that a potential event could be a 6th grade camp out reunion where people, they go to the reunion at some kind of organized event at the park, and so then you have people kind of reconnecting with their classmates and their families, and there could be some real neat kind of event type stuff coordinated with the Whitehall School District and things like that. So there could be a number of things, and so this person would be primarily working on getting like outdoor education events happening at the park along with those things, and then also providing assistance in social marketing with Dave Carlson. So we have this listed currently as a 75% position. Ultimately, from a process perspective, if it would get approved here today, it would then go on to Personnel and Bargaining Committee. If it would get approved there, we would then incorporate it into our 2024 budget and then carry it, and then if approved at the county board with the 2024 budget, we would start recruitment in 2024. So that's the whole idea around the position.
I think there's, sorry, go ahead, Jean.
Mike, where would the money come from this time? Out of the regular budget?
It would come out of the parks budget. It would be out of the PTED budget, yeah, it'd be levy dollars out of the budget. Our initial estimate, of course, the first year you need to get a computer and a desk, some of that kind of stuff, but we're estimating that salary and fringe going forward in subsequent years, it looks like to be around $62,000 to fund the position at 75%. And that's our initial research. Human Resources has not taken a look at this because it hasn't left this committee. If approved at this committee, HR would do more homework on this.
That's good. I think that's
Okay,
good.
and then would there be an opportunity for students or college people to come in and help for, oh my God, I can't think of the word. Internships?
Internships?
Yeah, internships from other areas.
I personally think internships are, right now, paid, all of them. I think I got it. Oh. Yeah, I personally think that, I know that internships are paid at this point. That's the trouble. There's some community service to be gotten, but with help the way it is, interns know that, and it's all paid positions at this, that's,
Yeah.
Was your intern paid last year that we had here?
Yes.
Okay. I don't think, when I was placing social work students, they were not paid internships.
those days are gone.
Well, that wasn't long ago.
They're
This
gone.
is,
Go ahead and check it out.
Sector too, they're gone.
Gene,
Yep.
Not in healthcare. They aren't paid.
And I don't think social works are paid either.
That's great.
Depends on the company.
Yeah, we could do some research, but I know that internships connected with universities aren't always paid, but I hear music. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought, well, am I hearing things? But, I mean, I think there's a lot of opportunities with this position to, I would even, and when Mike and I talked about it, having like special weekends for seniors, doing yoga stuff and getting adults out more, because we have a serious problem with seniors being isolated in this community, and I know that the ADRC is very willing to do transportation and at the 50th anniversary, they brought some people down the ADRC bus, and they were just like thrilled to be there and be outside, and and it takes some of the stress off of you, because I'd really like to see the prairie restoration workshop, and that sort of position could work with everybody in the parks unit to coordinate more activities and engage, I think, younger people and seniors in doing some intergenerational stuff. I think it's a great opportunity.
Gene, to answer your question, this would be a part-time position that would include benefits at 75%. I guess I didn't include internships in this proposal, but I guess we could take a look at that as well. That would be probably internship. I don't know if we'd have to go through the same process, but when we're creating a new position like this, that's not an internship, we need to go through this formal process.
Sure, and I understand that the reason I brought it up is because we've had people contact Wisconsin Great River Road for things like that, and UWL does a marketing and tourism program, and they're looking just for some time. So, if we would get lucky and that would be something happen, or even youth in our high schools or something that, maybe biology, things like that. So that's the reason I brought it up, and I completely understand some people wanting to get paid for things, but it sounds good for the 75% of that, and hopefully it'll work out. So
I also want to make a comment. Once it goes, I think an internship, even though it's technically paid, might fare better with the full board than a position, maybe, possibly.
But we're looking for a position, I didn't mean to interrupt you, I'm sorry, because we can't always depend on an intern to always be here and to always have an intern, and so I'm really supporting that we have that this become a 75% position that's attached to the county and that's here, and they can engage with different, like, universities or the technical colleges, or even voc rehab students would be good possible internships in this kind of position.
In coordinating these events, doing the kinds of things we're talking about, and coordinating things, marketing the events and getting people to attend them, it takes a lot of time. And that's why we had talked about, it's like, well, can we put more on Reed's plate? And we were like, no. We went through we had a cold, hard reality check on that 50th anniversary event and how much time that took. So to have regular scheduled events and programming at the park, it's going to require additional staff.
I think that's a great idea. Am I on here? I think that's a great idea. One of the things that I think would be really important is that this committee, and I'm going to put this on the future agenda, but I think this committee also has to provide tools to that person, so that when you have these events, let's say you have the kids come out for the 6th grade or whatever, that you can send a packet back, so they can take it back to their parents and say, hey, this is what's going on in the upcoming months here at the park. So that part of the marketing is important, to make sure that you have that kind of bounce back sort of thing. And to do that, you have to have tools. You have to have a brochure and some information. So
Right.
you can't just say, here you go, and not give her any tools or him any tools.
Right. Yeah, good point, very good point, and we could address that further in the parks budget as well. Yeah.
Mike, this is Jean. Clearly was a misunderstanding in regards to, or to the rest of the committee, in regards to what I meant. Not having the intern be the person that does the job, the internship coming and helping the person that gets the job through the county that's paid and has the fringe benefits. That's what I meant. for
Yeah,
clarification.
absolutely, and I think this position would be kind of the point person to reach out to UW La Crosse and the various places that have, Eau Claire, whoever has all these programs, and that would be the point person to do that. And I think it just could really, usually, I think people who've been at the park, when you get people at the park, at Petrick Park, they come back. So the more we can introduce the park to new people, we'll get repeat customers. And that it's not just overnight people at the camping, but it's also day use as well.
And I think it would be good for this, I hope this goes through, but this position to work like with DNR and Department of Forestry to do special events for kids. Like I know when our daughter was young and we would go camping, I love to go out to the Black Hills. One of the forest rangers would do a nighttime thing to look at the skies and identify constellations, and it's when there's a special full moon, and listening, identifying animals at night, and, so I just think there's so much potential, so.
Jean's point is well made, I think. I think it's really super important to have that person 75%. I can tell you that it probably will be difficult to have them do all the things that you want them to do. But with Jean's comment about then can you get people to do projects? Projects and projects are a little different than internships. So schools will take those on as a project with the whole team, and I think that's kind of what Jean was intending, and I think that's a great idea, because you will need additional help. 75% is good, but if you really want to do all of these things, you're going to need some
And it's going to
support.
be really coordinating with other agencies to have them assist, in the, I think that our DNR person that would totally love to maybe do a thing at night with kids. So, I mean, there's just a ton of possibilities. Yeah.
You certainly can.
No, we can't have Reed doing every dang thing in the department, along with getting rid of Buckthorn.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and there is endless possibilities. I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
you could be targeting so many different groups of people.
And winter activities, too.
Yeah, for sure.
Good job.
I would entertain a motion to approve this position in Mike's, what is that job, what is that thing called? The project
Initiation
for
form.
this activity outreach coordinator. So if someone would like to make that motion?
I would like to make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Adi?
Yep. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
All right, and then it will be forwarded on to the Personnel Bargaining Committee. Will you have it next week for that committee?
Sure.
Okay. Good.
Good
They
job,
meet
Mike.
next Thursday. I believe, is that the third Thursday? Holy cow.
Okay.
There's 5 Thursdays in June. So, yeah, it is the third, next week.
We'll talk after.
Okay. All right, good. Thank you, you guys. I really am very excited about this. Okay, we're going to jump to item number 12, discussion of Petrick Park funding. Is that Mike and Reed?
A little bit. I think this agenda item was asked to be put on since our development of the Friends of Petrick Park is going slower than we would like. I believe Dave and Doreen might be meeting soon. I don't know if Dave spoke to you before the meeting, but we're trying to get some core members to get Friends of Petrick Park going. But then some of the other ideas was getting some envelopes so people can make donations, and then upping our web presence for donations. And as we were working on this, one of the things that came across was there's a donation policy, and that was included in your packet. And so there's some guidelines, and the origins of I just became aware of this recently, and Reed too. This was adopted in early 2019, just a little bit before Reed started his job. And evidently, somewhere along the line, there was a youth event, and a frac sand mine company was donating some money for an event, and so that precipitated that some guidelines on what the county would accept for donations and how much, and the intent, and trying to stay away from where someone might benefit from, less regulation or less accountability for a land use practice or something like that. So this policy was set up, and I believe anything over $1,000 needs to be approved by PTED and exec finance. And do you have it up on your computer, Reed? But so one of the things we were looking at is trying to make donations available online. People a lot of times like to, in having a better web presence and promoting some of that on social media. But for donations over $1,000, we'd have to get 2 committee approvals to accept those.
I think we should look at that. I think we should look at that program. Oops, am I off again? Look at that program a little bit, and just determine how that process would be. As a donor, I would be like, okay, I'm going to give you some money, but it's going to take you 2 months to say you're okay with it. That doesn't set right with me. I can't imagine that. I get the intent of it, but we have to make that simpler for that donation, or they're going to say, you know what? There's 20,000 other people to give it to, and I will do that.
Who is responsible for doing this resolution?
I would think that, or the donation
Was that an
policy?
exec finance policy?
I would think so. One of the ideas behind the Friends of Petrick Park is to remove that and have a separation. So that's one of the critical roles for getting the Friends of Petrick Park going. So, if Friends of Petrick Park is accepting donations, it also provides some separation. So if for instance, a frac sand, and I'm trying not to pick on frac sand companies, that was what precipitated this. Let's say a frac sand company wanted to make a donation, they can make a donation to Friends of Petrick Park. Then ultimately, how the Friends of Petrick Park take that money and use it with the park, there's separation there, and I think that makes it smoother and a better process.
Can someone find out for us how, and maybe you guys know, but how Friends of Petrick Park is set up? Are they a 501c3? What kind of setup are they, so that
They haven't been created yet. We're
Okay.
very slow going. We're trying to get a group of people to kind of be a organizational committee.
Yeah.
And so we're not quite there yet, so.
Well, and we really need to revisit this policy because one of the things on here is restricted donation is any donation with terms or condition imposed by the donation or the donor. Well, Petrick Park gets lots of things donated with specific, this is how we want. Yeah, so this is really, we need to revisit this policy, or at least separate the park from this. This must have been exec finance because I don't remember.
I'm guessing so, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is Doreen Olson speaking. I just became aware of the policy. I have not looked at the policy, but, I want to just give an example. So this past weekend, we had envelopes out there. I would be anticipating by the time we get all the donations in, it may very well be over $1,000 just from other people. So my one question is, do I submit that money as saying, okay, $20 from this person, $10 from this person? Whereas initially, I was just planning on writing out one check
Right.
to, to the park, or maybe our family wants to donate more money. So, in talking with Dave this morning, I will be on that committee. We'll take a good look at that, how we might be able to separate that. Unfortunately, just what was presented to the park as that land, that was proposed to the park after 2019.
And
And I don't know the stipulations with the land or whatever. I just know we have that 3-year, but.
I'd have to, my memory isn't
What it used to be?
what it used to be on every step of that process. I know it went through this committee and property. I don't remember if it went through exec finance.
Yeah.
But it very well might have. I just, you get beyond 2 meetings on a project like that, it all kind of blurs together, so.
And I'm just a public person.
Right,
So,
right.
It's, but it's.
feel about it,
Right. So, and if you have, we've received a couple other huge donations in the past. So that's something I think we really need to look carefully at, and with your new position here, how we might be able to handle that for in the future, that if there is a large contribution, yes, we need to follow policy, but how can that be done?
I can think of 2 large donations that came from estates that had things specifically. One was for the food and nutrition program, and it was well over $1,000. So this is not maybe something that we all remember was done back in 2019, because there have been things accepted that have been over $1,000. So someone's maybe texting me.
And this is during, again, our donation from my husband and I, and memorials for our daughter, we stipulated for restoration of the park. We didn't say specifically, but for the park to be restored in certain areas.
So, yeah, if this committee can
we need to
bring this back to exec finance and say, this doesn't always work for everybody. Maybe Rick, he was here in 2019, he might remember this.
So does the committee want to look at it further as another agenda item, and then provide a recommendation, or ask, and then ask exec finance to take a closer look?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 2 parts to that, really. I think the one thing is the Friends of Pedro Park, they have to be a 501c3 or some charitable, you have to do that. People will not get their receipts, will not get, be able to deduct it from their taxes if they're not set up that way. So they either need to be set up that way, or you've got to figure something out. And then I think you definitely need to bring that other issue back to the table, so we can see what it looks like.
There is a paragraph 3 here which says, established fundraising efforts will be specifically coordinated and managed by the appropriate department. Established fundraising efforts, once approved by the department's standing committee, will not need annual approval unless such efforts are substantially modified. So maybe take a closer look at this policy, because it sounds like, because our committee has, we have to accept donations, and we've accepted a lot of stuff from the community that's over $1,000.
We'll get clarification. Maybe we can set up
Have Rick come to a
an
meeting.
ongoing annual fundraiser for the park that's just ongoing, or whatever. Well, we'll talk to Rick, prior to the next meeting, and get clarification. And but I think you're exactly right. It's 2 parts. It's this policy, and then also the Friends.
I guess you got to look at the big picture too. That park, in its early stages, was built basically on contributions, volunteer labor, and stuff like that. And most of these people that donated, either monetary or
In kind.
labor, they didn't care if they got their picture in the newspaper. They didn't want any acknowledgement. They did it because they cared about the place. That's the way it should be. I mean, if somebody wants to write a check for $5,000 for the park, and they say, here, spend it accordingly, they're gonna have trust in the committee how to do it, not just to let it go out the window.
I agree with you, but there's going to be some people that need that and want that tax deduction, not necessarily their picture in the paper, but they're going to want that tax deduction, or they're going to want the flexibility to give it to a certain place. They want some sort of a memory kind of chair, or some in memory of, or whatever, but, you know, you have to have two parts to it. There can certainly be people that will love to just do it and give it, but you've got to kind of refine it so that it works for everybody.
Yeah, we've had benches, we've had people donate for benches that are made, we've had a lot of those, so,
And those benches aren't cheap either.
no.
How much are they, Reed?
No, they're not.
Do you remember how much?
I was gonna say they're over about $1,000.
Yeah,
then you start getting in memory of, and those guys jacks it up.
okay.
Okay.
So I think we generally agree that policy needs to be reviewed and have Rick look at it. Okay. Any other questions on that? All right. Replacement of water heater at Petrick Park.
Yeah, this one's on me.
Is it dead?
It's not dead,
Okay.
but it's
Dying?
dying, and it's. So I received a couple of quotes from a couple of different plumbers, and it's gonna break over the county policy. We'll have to bid it out because it's gonna be more than $10,000. So,
Are you thinking a tankless one?
well, it was actually by multiple companies that I've talked to said because of how long the tankless ones will sit. Apparently,
Oh.
they tend to clog. It's not like
Okay.
at your house where something's constantly
Right,
using
right.
them. Like, there might be a week where nobody's using a shower or the hot water there, and I don't know, I'm just going off of their knowledge.
Okay.
I'm not a plumber myself. So they're leaning more towards the tanked ones, which are actually cheaper, so.
Okay.
I was hoping to have something on this agenda for approval, but because they're all coming in higher than our bidding policy, we're gonna have to bid it out, and I'm hoping to bring something in July.
Okay. That's good.
I mean, the current one is showing signs of, there's flames coming out of it burning up the side, like
Oh,
it's something that
great.
needs to be acted on fairly quickly, so.
We've been praying over that for a long time.
Yeah, I mean,
It's been
it's-
dying for a long time.
It has been, and we, I think the first year I started, it went out, and then they don't even make parts for the current one anymore. And they happened to find a part on a shelf somewhere, and they replaced it, and it's been running ever since, so.
You're on borrowed time, you think?
On borrowed time, and then and it was kind of the old situation, like, do you wait for it to die and fix it, and you might get 5 more years out of it, which we have, at least 4.
Got lucky.
Yeah, or do you replace it so you know you're good? I mean, I'd hate for it to go out before, one of our big weekends, Ashley or
Ash
Memorial
is
Day or
coming
something.
up, so I think
Yeah.
you need
Yeah,
to
we
get
might not
bids.
get so lucky next time with finding a part.
That's
Will it
right.
be on the agenda next month? Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
I'm
good.
planning on getting the bid out
Okay,
this
good.
week.
All right.
So it'll be out for 2 weeks, and then
Okay.
Does it have
hopefully.
to be in a form of a motion to go ahead and get it fixed? I mean, you don't let a hot water heater go at home without fixing it.
I think
Right.
we have to wait until we pick a bid. I mean,
Well,
you can go ahead and,
Well, just say, the county policy is for purchases over $10,000, it needs to be bid, meaning we need to get multiple prices and advertise it in the paper. That's what our policy currently is. And so as staff, we're trying to follow that policy. Now, if the committee wants us to do otherwise, give us, direct us to do that, and we'll do that.
somebody have a better idea, Bob?
Well, this is something that's just like a septic system.
Right.
You need it. If you got cold water, nobody's gonna come. You're creating a health issue is what you're creating.
Yeah, if you guys give me permission to go ahead and fix it next week, I'd rather do that, obviously. But
I mean, when is Ashley J's? In August, right?
Second week of
You're basically
August.
working a month.
If you tell us to do it.
That's correct.
You've got probably 1,000 people that's gonna use that
Yeah,
park.
Right.
Let me call Rick. I'm gonna call Rick
You
and
know
see
how
if we
many
can
people
just-
are gonna be disgusted if they can't take a hot shower?
It's how many prices do you have right now?
We have 2 right now.
What are they?
I have to look them up here.
I'm gonna call Rick and see if we can, give you permission to do it without seeing the bids.
And this is during public comment, would be that with those bids, to make sure they have a heater available, because the way things are going right now, you may be waiting 6 months for a heater.
Might be a lower bid, but
Good point. And it's still, this heater might last, but I'm worried about the fire situation. I'm worried that it's gonna go out.
I guess what we're looking at too, that's why that rainy day fund was created for the park, that the county couldn't get their coffers into it in case you needed an emergency. And that's what we got. I mean, you've got one, that's a health issue, you got the other is a fire issue.
It's a double, I think this is an emergency for sure.
So one of the quotes is 13,105.76, and the other one second here, so 13,500, let's say. Here it is right here.
And this is public comment as well. As dry as it is right now, it won't take much for a spark of a flame to have that place go up.
Of course it's not. Oh, here it is. 15,350.
Okay, I have good news.
So they're both.
From our court counsel. He explained that if it's urgent, which it sounds like, because flames shooting up from the hot water
I mean,
heater
not all
don't
the
sound like a
time, but
good
you
thing.
look under there and you can, it's, there's
And he
burn
said
marks.
if it will impact the service that we provide to people, if this committee approves it, we can go ahead without going through all the hoops. So I would
That's
like
music to my
someone to
ears.
entertain a motion for Reed to move forward on getting a new hot water heater.
I will, that's a double hazard.
Is there a second?
I'll say.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
I,
You go.
Well, thank you to the committee, and I know we had this discussion, it would have been, I can't remember how many months back, about, there were certain things that I could do, but this one was so much higher in cost
Right.
that wanted to make sure that things are done properly, so.
Go for it.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
All right. Now we're on to item number 14, the next meeting. Can we get Rick on the agenda to talk about that policy? Or is that something you can do in the smaller committee with just Rick?
Yeah, I think we can
Okay.
probably do it.
All right.
Bring it back to us.
Yeah. First Tuesday in July is July 4th.
Oh, well, I'm home. I don't do anything on July 4th. Protect my dogs from fireworks. My dogs do not like fireworks. So you want to do it the next week, the 11th?
Do we have anything pressing that we could have it, have 2 meetings in June?
The 27th,
Something pressing.
the 27th would not work for me, but,
I am hoping to bring the committee some quotes on that blacktop work, which would be nice to have sooner than later, because they're obviously busy, but it's not like it's super pressing, but I'll have that information by the next meeting.
And Friends of Peacher Park may not be able to have a meeting before then, or if we do, it'll be a real short one.
Well, the 27th of June, do that. That's when we might not be.
so what date are you looking at?
we're either looking at the 27th or the 11th.
So the 27th is Thursday and the 11th is Tuesday, correct?
No, the 27th of June and the 11th of July, but I would prefer the 11th of July,
I would too.
Well, let's do it then.
if that works for everybody. Is that going to work for you?
Yes, that'll work for me.
The pressing stuff?
I wouldn't say the blacktop work is pressing, it just
Okay.
would be, the sooner you get going on it, if
Okay.
you're in like a list,
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you better.
Well, we've given you approval to do that, right?
You have not.
Oh, we have not?
No.
Okay.
Because I'm still waiting on one more quote from one private
Okay.
company that I'm gonna contact Highway Department
Okay,
today.
all right. Okay, so the 11th at 8:30. It'll start to get darker in a couple weeks. I hate that day. I don't like the summer.
Jeannie, can I just have a minute quick?
Sure, go for it.
And if the Wisconsin Great River Road would get put back on the agenda, that would be great. This coming Saturday is the Trumpealeau County Dairy Breakfast, and I'm gonna spell the name because I don't want to be disrespectful. Jereccek family. They're in Pine Creek. And then the Trumpealeau County Fair, excuse me, is July 13th through the 16th in Galesville. And I haven't talked to Dave. I don't know if he'll be going on Saturday or spending time at the fair, but I just wanted you guys all to know that you're invited. And that's all I'll say for now because we got, it's time to go and I've got a meeting. So anyway, that's that. Thank you.
That's also 150th anniversary of that farm.
In case you didn't hear, Bob just informed us that it's 150th anniversary of that farm where the dairy breakfast will be. How do you pronounce their name, Lori? Jurassic. Okay. Oh, it's like Jurassic Park. No. I love the dairy breakfast, so I hope everybody goes.
I'll be there, I think I will.
Okay, thanks. All right, a motion to adjourn?
Well, we got for future agenda items.
Oh, yeah.
No problem. Could we put on there the guidebook project for 2024 so we get some ideas on how to make the Trumpealeau County guidebook happen and work? Because that's going to be a tool that people need, and we have nothing.
And I promise I'll try to get more information about the public hearing that was on regarding the state getting involved in eradicating wild parsnip.
So do you want that on the agenda?
If I find out stuff, what I would like our committee to do, and I'll see if it's possible, just have a resolution that goes to the state and our senator and our assembly rep, encouraging them to do something. And I would even add buckthorn. The only thing that kills buckthorn is goats. That's what they're using in the forests up north.
Business opportunity for somebody, I guess.
I know. I need to get some goats. Yes, they eat everything.
They eat everything.
Yeah, not true.
No?
I bought 5 of them suckers thinking, this is my plan.
There you go. Thank you.
No,
Do you have buckthorn? They like buckthorn.
well, these little buggers just like people, so they just go around looking for somebody to feed them.
They want to be hand fed.
Yeah, they don't want to do any work.
Okay, we need a motion to
I didn't
adjourn.
get working.
Any future agenda?
Why shouldn't I eat marshmallows when I got grass to eat?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.